One element that I've always found very interesting is the culture, and it's linked also to diversity. It's something that we talked about in another podcast a few months ago, was what diversity means. I'd like to now maybe because of some of the feedback work a bit on give a bit more light on the cultural element of that diversity. Even before the beginning of my career, I found that very interesting. There was in the accounting book, there is goodwill, and in there's also some cultural elements and items, and I found that interesting that you can translate culture and goodwill into money, which is something I've done at the time, and it's something which it's also followed me throughout my career. The cultural element is something which either you're part of a community, very close community, or in a country which is inward looking, and whether it's in a state, a province, or so, and then you're bound in that cultural element, and you thrive as a business, but then it's a monocultural approach. But I've never been in that situation. I've always been into a situation where none of my colleagues were almost of the same nationality, and it's something which has probably shaped me today. Maybe it's opened me more or gave me more confidence or less confidence. It's just I need to be a bit more do a bit more introspection about this. But the element is that culture has always been, or different culture has always been part of my business life. Whether it's my first job, it was I was Belgian. There were Luxembourgish, English, French, and German there, and then it moved into always multicultural environments. What else does it have to do with diversity? Well, if you come from different background, different studies, different age or generation, then the diversity is there because the point of view, the weight of experience is different. You're less candid or more candid depending on where you're from, and it's something that you have to, or that I always had to play with, and to be used to. Different cultures, of course. There's always some form of fear factor, or not, the lack of trust. Is different. So what does that mean? Maybe I had that too much when I was a kid or young, but it's something which I had to fight against, and I've completely changed that. My approach now is much more towards reaching out to people and creating an environment of trust. Is that sufficient to be able to lead team at the international level or in several countries like I had? Certainly not. But it's an important element. The first step, of course, is go towards people and creating an environment where we can discuss, a safe space, trying to, as much as possible, creating that safe space, which is not always possible, because if you lead a team which is in another country, from another country, then there's the body language is missing, the warmth of moving into the warmth. Let's be clear. If you move into a room and then it creates and there are people there, or you're in the room and people move into the room, there are emotions that are created, whether positive or negative, simply by micro movement, which is something that I've learned about in that big group I was working in. But also naturally you get used to those elements. If you don't have them, then you need to compensate that, and it's not always easy. So then more mistakes are made, which are longer lasting, because then there is more frustration being built without being identified, and over a few weeks or months, then this frustration can go and explode into a bit more drama, which is more in the fashion of the explosion than the content of the drama itself. But it's something that needs to be tackled, and especially on the emotional element, and reaching out towards people, to people, for establishing the relationship when they're from different culture is one thing, but when there is drama and there are negative emotion involved, then it's something totally different. So there's much more work that needs to be done, more time is needed, and more openness is required from both sides. But not all the sides can do that. So what to do? Yeah, good question. At the beginning, being helpless is the first thing that happens, and then we need to leave that environment of frustration, of primal fear maybe, or not willingness to go beyond that, or maybe being frozen. We need to find a common currency. I found in business that it was easy to speak about a project or changing the project, moving the person from a certain specific type of work into a slightly different angle with a different vision, with a different need, and giving assurance that whatever was done in the past was going to be taken care of by somebody else, and creating a new environment, a positive environment, was very strong. But it's not always working, because sometimes the link to the old project, the emotional link to the old project, was so strong. So it's about trial and error. It's about sometimes creating an earthquake. Sometimes it's about little changes, and it's not always the same with the same person as well. So what does that mean? It means that we need to be adaptable. We need to be able to understand who and the audiences, what the cultural state is of the person at the moment of the drama, and be able to go beyond that. And sometimes it's simply not working. There are simply elements of the culture or of the person, him or herself, which cannot be overcome. And that's why people change job. That's why people change project. That's why people jump from the train, or hop on another train. And it is part of life, which we need to accept. My opinion has always been, I prefer working on the strength of a person and identify those strengths, and in their cultural environment, and then be able to let them progress using those strengths. So leaving the person sufficient space into their own culture to progress, while giving a lot of understanding into either keeping myself the understanding, but also part of the team and the colleague being able to work together, and by giving ourselves space in our own culture to evolve.